What's good, Commanders fans? Just want to make a quick video for you today on Saturday. Hope everybody enjoys a great weekend or has a good weekend for sure. Super Bowl is tomorrow, so of course you guys know my prediction. Who I'm rooting for is definitely the Chiefs. Definitely want to see the Eagles take this L. I got the Chiefs winning 27-24. That's what I got. I got the Chiefs winning 27-24 tomorrow. Pat Mahomes probably wins the MVP. It's going to be between him or Xavier Worthy. Most likely it will be Pat though. But it's gonna be a close competitive game for sure. It's gonna be a close competitive game. Definitely don't want to see you, especially the way their fans act. And I want the city of Philadelphia to be safe, because if they don't win, rest in peace the young man that climbed up the pole. You know, they just don't know how to act. You know, because if they win, they're gonna go crazy, and something like that may happen again. So for the safety of Philadelphia, that's why I want the Chiefs to win. I'm joking, but seriously, at the same time, that is true. But you know, their fans are just terrible. I don't want to go into the whole spiel. We know they have a jail under the stadium, under the old stadium, but they should have one on this one. They know how to act. They were trying to fight Wale, taking people's hats off. It's just a trash fan base for the most part. There's a few good apples, but for the most part, it's a trash fan base. All right, so just want to congratulate Jayden Daniels, of course, for winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. We knew that was going to happen probably really weak. I think after the Falcons game, that cemented the Rookie of the Year, because some people were saying Bo Nix and whatnot. And that's the thing about this bum, Sam Monson, who, because it was supposed to be a unanimous vote for Jayden Daniels, and I don't want to spend too much time on Sam Monson, but he picked Brock Bowers, and he's just trying to be different and contrarian. And all the reasons that he really gave were really reasons that backed up why Jayden should have won it. He said Daniels won because of the quarterback bonus. He said Bowers did it without other weapons helping him in bad quarterback play. If you want to talk about other weapons, Jayden was throwing the Uzi, he was throwing the Noah Brown. All those guys are wide receiver number 3 and 4s on different teams. He was throwing the De'Ami Brown. Who else? Luke McCaffrey. Like, look at the supporting cast other than Terry McLaurin. Zach Ertz, 35 years old. Ben Sinnott didn't get in the mix much, but John Bates was his tight end number 2. Brandon Coleman was a rookie left tackle. Nick Allegretti had, less than 10 starts before he started the full season at left guard. Michael Dieter started a couple games. Sam Cosmi went out. Wiley missed games. Cornelius Lucas had to play a couple of games. They had a platoon swap between Cornelius Lucas and Brandon Coleman. Like, come on now. If you want to talk about supporting cast, so all his arguments really supported Jayden Daniels, in my opinion. Jayden Daniels had the best rookie season in the history for a rookie quarterback. By far. Not even close. And I know it's just a regular season award. It doesn't include the playoffs, but still, the Falcons game, the Hail Mary, the Eagles game, 5 touchdowns, the Bengals game on Monday Night Football, the Cardinals game, 42-14, the Browns game where he sat out in the fourth quarter. So many games you can pinpoint and look at. The Giants game where we swept the Giants, the second game, he had a great game. So all those games, you look at those games, and it's just insane. Brock Bowers had a great season, but I don't want to take away from the shine from Jayden. Jayden had an awesome Radio Row Super Bowl weekend. Jameis Winston making the AI picture and having fun. Snoop Dogg with his goofy old man reefer jokes, joking about Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels on the Pat McAfee show. Pat McAfee was like, hey, you got the whole Bears staff fired off of this Hail Mary pass. That was hilarious. So we got to see a little bit more of Jayden's personality. He's still a laid-back, chill guy, which I love about him. He's so cool, calm, and collected. But just seeing him on Media Row at Super Bowl weekend was awesome. Jerry Jones was bigging him up. Charles Woodson was hyping him up. Champ Bailey. Basically, anybody who had a microphone that you asked about Jayden Daniels had nothing but good things to say about Jayden Daniels. So he had an awesome weekend at Radio Row. Still said he's pissed off about the loss to the Eagles in the NFC Championship game. I mean, that's just how much of a competitor that he is. And he looked darn good, man. He looked swagged and flat out, man, with a nice suit and the whole get up. His mom was there, of course, too. She looked nice as well. Shout out to Miss Jackson, the lovely Miss Jackson, for sure. So we'll see how this summer goes in this offseason. I want to see if he's going to do like the podcasting like Jordan Love or CJ Stroud, Michael Parsons. I want to see, like, does he decide to do stuff like that, or does he keep to himself and kind of just, keep himself to the vest. So I'm intrigued to see what he decides to do, because I know a lot of podcasts and companies are going to come to him and ask him to do stuff like that, like they did with CJ Stroud, like they've done with Michael Parsons and Amon Ross St. Brown. So we'll see what happens with that stuff. Maybe I'll talk about him possibly bulking up in another video. We'll see. But I do want to talk about the reserve future signings. So we've signed 14 guys. I don't remember how many guys we signed last year for reserve future deals. I don't think we signed this many. A lot of the guys that we did sign are already on the roster for the most part. We only signed 2 guys that are not on the that were not on the roster. So like they signed Bobby Hart, who was already on the practice squad, to a reserve future contract. These are like lesser deals. You know, they keep them on the team. Younger guys who haven't been on the. Some of the guys have been on the league for a little while, and some of these contracts are like cheaper than the minimum contract. So these are deals where they can come back on the practice squad or compete in the summer and training camp for the 90-man roster, possibly make the 53 man roster. So it just gives them a chance to keep these guys on the roster. So we'll see how it goes with these guys. But I do want to talk about it because I always think every signing is important. You just never know, and there may be a guy who is on a reserve future contract that may have to step on the field and play, and guys that have stepped on the field and played this season. So Kaz Allen, he's on a reserve future contract. They really like him for whatever reason. I'm not the biggest fan of Kaz Allen. Too many drops in the preseason, too many fumbles. William Fahoko Jr., the defensive tackle, they signed him during the season on the practice squad. He was with the Cowboys before. Played defensive end, versatile, had a great career at San Jose State as a pass rusher. Julian Good-Jones, the guard. Quarterback Sam Hartman on reserve future contract. He probably will make the roster again this coming up season. We'll see what happens with Marcus, man. Like the Raiders are interested apparently, and there's another team. I know the Raiders have Chip Kelly as their offensive coordinator, so we'll see what happens. If Marcus Mariota does leave to another team, then they probably will keep Jeff Driscoll and then Sam Hartman will be pushed up to quarterback number 3 instead of quarterback number 4. Tyree Jackson, the guy who was a quarterback, then converted to a tight end. He was on the Buffalo Bills. So he was signed to a reserve future contract. Andre Jones Jr. was drafted by the previous regime, I believe. He was signed to a reserve future contract. Chris Moore was on the practice squad. He's a quick receiver, good deep threat. He was signed to a reserve future contract. Safety Ben Nickel, who was a UDFA special teams guy, reserve future contract, and to Cole Turner as well. People ask about Cole Turner from time to time, like what's going on with him. You know, when Zach Ertz had the concussion, were they going to elevate him and put him on an active roster? So he was signed to a reserve future contract. He will probably be on the practice squad next year again, or they may decide to move on from him. If they draft another tight end or sign another tight end, I would like them to either draft another tight end or sign another tight end to the room. We'll see what they do with John Bates, but Cole Turner, so we'll see what happens with him. He most likely will be on the practice squad again. I don't see him making the roster next year because Zach Ertz is probably coming back. They're probably, like I said, they're either going to bring back Ben Sennett's going to be back, so that's 2 guys. You usually only keep 3 tight ends on the roster. So Zach, Ben Sennett, and then a draft guy, or you keep John Bates. I would like them to bring back John Bates. I do like how he blocks. He's the best blocking tight end on our roster. So I would like him to come back for sure. And then Anam Donkwa, the big fella from Howard University, he was signed on a reserve future contract. He's like 6'7", 6'8". He's a behemoth of a guy. He's just a big fella. And then Michael Wiley, fan favorite, went to USC. Or did he go to Arizona? Which one? I know there's the other running back that we had too. That we signed. He went to Arizona. So there was another guy from USC. I can't remember his name, but he's not on a reserve future contract. But Michael Wiley had a really, really good preseason. Very elusive, very shifty. Can catch the ball in the backfield. Solid blocker on passing downs for sure. So I do like that they brought him back on a reserve future deal. We'll see what happens with him. It was really between him and Jeremy McNichols. If they let Jeremy McNichols walk, then I feel like Michael Wiley would have more of an opportunity to make the roster. But at the same time, I do want the Commanders to revamp their running back room. You're not going to release Brian Robinson, but I feel like you need to bring in a better running back than Brian Robinson. I just don't feel like you. I think if Adam Peters wants to have a better run game, you got to improve the offensive line. But not only that, you have to have a better running back with more vision and more elusiveness, more explosiveness, and more quickness at that position. You just look at all the other running backs in the league, and they're just more talented than B-Rob. I love B-Rob. I love how hard he works, his work ethic and all that coming back from being shot. But you just need better at the position for sure. And I do like Michael Wiley, though. Had a solid career at Arizona. Had a good preseason. I feel like there's some things that he can definitely do. I feel like he can be a solid kick returner as well, maybe even a punt returner. I feel like there's some things that you can do with him just to put him out there, get him on the field some way, somehow. Screen passes, quick running back draws, just something different to get him involved for sure. I feel like there's the way you can use him some way somehow throughout the season, at least for a game or two next season. We'll see. And then the other guys are Demetric Felton, who I really like, who was on the Browns, went to UCLA. He's a scat back. He's a hybrid receiver, running back. Like, he came on the scene in the Senior Bowl in 2021. He had a really good Senior Bowl. He had a touchdown in the Senior Bowl as well. You look at him on the one-on-one routes where they went against cornerbacks. He was winning every route, every rep, and that's where he got really, really popular. Came on the scene in the draft process. His relative athletic score is really, really bad. He's 5'8", 189 pounds. Basically, everything was poor. His vertical leap was 31.5, but it doesn't matter. Like, his on-the-field speed does not match his RAS scores. Like, his RAS score was awful. It was like a .91. He was so bad. He was drafted in the 6th round, pick 211. He ranked 2,289 out of 2,517 wide receivers from 1987 to 2021. As a receiver, his RAS score was really bad. Even as a running back, his RAS score was pretty bad too. 40-yard dash, 4.45 40-yard dash, which is solid, but, you know, not great. Shuttle, 4.5, 3 cone, 7.31. All those were very, very poor grades overall. But on the positive side, it's not like he hasn't done anything in his career. Like, he's done stuff in games. He scored 2 touchdowns, which is not a lot. But when he gets out there, he's played really, really well. His rookie season in 2021, he had 18 catches for 181 yards, which is pretty good, and 2 touchdowns. 10 first downs where he moved the chains. And those were in 2 starts in 16 games. And then he had 7 runs for 24 yards, 3.4 yards per carry. So he's been more of a scat back, receiving back out of the backfield. And in the screen pass, he ran it in for a touchdown. And he had a really nice spin move as well. He's had some really good plays in college, some really explosive plays. And then he had an 81.1 receiving grade in the 2019 season at UCLA. 10 yards after catch, 18 missed tackles forced at UCLA. In 2021, he had 10 snaps in the backfield, 38 in the slot, 9 out wide for the Browns. So he can be a chess piece, man. I like Demetric Felton, man. I'm intrigued to see what he does in the preseason. He scored a touchdown in the preseason as well with the Colts for like a 50-yard run. So I like him a lot, man. In college, he had 17 catches of 15-plus yards since 2019, which was second most among running backs in college football. That was in 2021 when he got drafted. So I like him, man. He's shifty. He can make something shake. He can make guys miss in a phone booth. Quickly, Lawrence Cager, who was a receiver in college, went to Georgia, had 4 touchdowns, 476 yards receiving in 2019 at Georgia. Then he was converted to a tight end, played with the Giants. With the Giants, he's made a couple plays. He's had a couple touchdowns. He had a touchdown in 2022 and a touchdown in 2023. He had a touchdown in 2022, 2023, and also he had it's tripping me up because he was on 2 teams. He was on the Jets in 2022 and on the Giants in 2023. He had 13 catches for 118 yards and 8 first downs. And he is 6'5", 220 pounds. He's from Baltimore, went to Calvert Hall. Like I said, 6'5", 220 pounds. I think he's a UDFA as well. Was not drafted, but you know, he has some SEC play there, and he converted. So he's an athletic tight end that can move and can give you some yak and some yards after the catch. If you look at some of his preseason highlights and regular season highlights, he does give yak ability, which we just don't have with Zach as our number 1 guy at the moment. So I like the 2 guys that we brought in that are not on the roster. We brought Lawrence Cager in for a workout earlier in the season, but he didn't make the practice squad, so now they're bringing him in for a reserve future contract. So, like I said, guys, I mean, some people would dismiss these signings and stuff like that, but I actually believe in some of these signings. I really feel like, you know, some of these guys have a chance in the league, and you never know. You just never know. So, all right, you guys, reserve future contracts which occur from January to March, much like the time period. I'm just reading what these are. Just to explain a reserve future contract, the reserve injury list, or the breakdown of practice squad. So yeah, reserve future contracts. They're basically just bringing in guys for practice squad and stuff like that, just getting them ready for the season. A reserve future contract guarantees that a player cannot be signed by another team. The deal goes into effect once the new league year begins, and will count towards the next season salary cap and 90-man roster for the off-season training camp. So it's just guys that they want to keep on the roster just for, it's kind of like a G League type of thing if you think about it, or like a developmental type of thing, practice squad. All right, you guys, as always, have a good weekend. Hail Commanders. Peace.